Hello my dear children. Let's start with excretory system, the last part of the lesson. We are done with major aspects of the lesson like the functions of the kidney, that's the production of urine as well as the structure of the kidney, then the renal tubule, then how the whole process of the formation of urine is taking place. Now let's go ahead with the regulation of the urine output. Now here we are going to see first the pituitary gland and the we can call it as diuresis. Now pituitary gland, where is it located? It is located behind your nose, right? And it's called as the master gland. Why it's called as the master gland? Because it is controlling all the activities, okay, of the other glands as well. So that's the reason we call it as the a master gland. Okay, then here it's said that the concentration of the urine and the water reabsorption is controlled by this antidiuretic hormone, which is ADH, secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Now what is this actually ADH? ADH is it's a hormone which is antidiuretic hormone, which is secreted, it's made in the hypothalamus of the brain. And this particular hormone which is there, that's ADH, it tells the kidney to conserve the water. That means it tells the kidney how much amount of water ADH can conserve in it. Okay, so this is secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So this particular hormone is situated in the pituitary gland. Now if your ADH secretion is reduced, now ADH itself is responsible to conserve the urine water. Okay, now if the secretion is reduced, if the ADH secretion that is in the pituitary gland is reduced, then what will happen? There will be an increase in the production of urine, and this is called as diuresis. So there will be increased production of urine. That means a person will be frequently urinating. Now this condition arises when the hormone, that's ADH hormone, is reduced. The secretion of the ADH hormone is reduced. The person will be always feeling an urge to urinate. That's increase in the production of urine. Now substances that increase the formation of urine are called as diuretics. Examples are liquid diets, tea, coffee, alcohol, etc. So because of the like when we are taking a liquid in the diet, like the tea, coffee, alcohol, what will happen? The person will be having an increased production of urine. Now what is gout and kidney stones? Okay, now let us see first of all what is gout. Gout, we say that it's like a form of an arthritis. Arthritis means there will be a pain in the joints, or maybe a redness. Okay, so a person who's suffering from kidney stone, he must be very well understanding what is gout actually. Like there is a very a pokey pain in the stomach or in some region, right? So this, what happens, this uric acid which is there, it is not very less soluble in water, and that's why it crystallizes. And when it crystallizes, it gets deposited. Where does it get deposited? It gets deposited in the joints, which causes the gout. Then excess of uric acid, then these salts like calcium and all, these also may be a source of calcium oxalate may be the source of kidney stones when the kidneys are not working. So these kidney stones, maybe they will be getting into the ureter or the urinary bladder or the ureters, and then it may be it may be creating an hindrance for the urination. So that is the reason when a person will be urinating, he will feel like a difficulty in it. Okay, so that's called as the kidney stone. So this is about the gout and the kidney stones, and the disease which is it's not a disease we can say, but what is actually diuresis is what is said into this regulation of urine output. Now in your 7th, maybe you must have studied about what is actually osmoregulation. We said that osmoregulation is nothing but the regulation of salt and water content, okay, in the blood, in short. So this kidney which is there, it is removing waste like urea from the blood, which is regulating its composition. That's the percentage of water and salts. So the function is called osmoregulation, which says that regulation of osmotic pressure of the blood. So kidneys, when they are removing the waste, so what are the waste the kidneys will be removing? It will be urea, blood, also some percentage of water, salts, and this whole function is osmoregulation. So what is osmoregulation actually? Osmoregulation is the regulation of salt and water content in the blood, or regulation of osmotic pressure of the blood. Now let us see first what is actually the water balance in the human body. So adult human body, it contains 40 liters of water, which forms 60% of the body weight. That means 40 Bisleri bottles of 1 liter makes your water content in your body. So average daily loss and gain of the water in an adult human male in good health at a resting temperature climate is given. So loss of urine by the kidney 1500 milliliter, which is 60%. Sweat by skin 500, which is 20%. Breath in by lungs, that's 400 ml, 16%, and in feces it is 100, which is 4%. So total 2500 milliliter of the water is there. Then how much amount, that this is the loss of the water, so how much amount of water is gained? So in drink as water, beverages, or in food 1500, 60%. In food it's 700, that's 25%. Metabolic water product or cellular respiration 300, which is 12%. So total 2500. So the intake and the outtake of water would slightly vary according to the climate, right? According to the climate and the lifestyle, but it is always and always better to drink lots of water, because lot of benefits are there. It helps in purification of your system. It helps in the, you know, the process of excretory system also gets it can be increased, helps in digestion. So there are a lot of benefits of drinking lot of water. Then let's go to the next thing. So drinking enough water, or directly or through the food, helps the kidneys in proper working. As I told you, it helps in the proper functioning of the kidneys. But in tropical climates like the climate in our country, like it's a summer or humid climate, or a hot and humid climate, we can say, we drink a lot of water in summer. So we are drinking lot of water in summer, but we urinate very fewer times in summer than in winter. So, and the urine past is generally thicker. So you must have faced problem that in summers also sometimes you are always drinking water, you are perspiring, you are sweating. So what happens, the urination is very less, as well as it is thicker. So why is this? The reason is that in summer we are losing lot of water, either by sweating we are losing, right? And therefore what happens, the kidneys have to reabsorb the water from more and more water, and that is the reason the urine we give out, the urine which is there, it is concentrated means it will not have any chemicals and all that, but it is a bit yellowish color, and a person feels while urinating also he feels a pain. So this is when during the summers very little urination is there. Why? Because water is released to the sweat by the perspiration, so more and more reabsorption of water is done. That's why the urine is concentrated. Then what happens in cholera? Cholera is a water disease, right? The patient which is there, he is suffering from vomiting and watery bowels. So continuously the person is vomiting, or he is suffering from loose motion. So that time the water loss is reduced. There is a water loss in the body, or there is dehydration, we can say. So his intestines which are there, they are unable to absorb the water from the blood. So as a result, what happens? As a result, his kidneys reabsorb almost all the water from the urine. So more and more water are absorbed from the urine in the renal tubules, and with it even urea is absorbed. So from the renal tubules water is absorbed as well as urea is absorbed. So what happens if the urea gets into the blood? So the patient may die due to poisoning by the accumulation of high quantities of urea in the blood, which is called as uremia. So what is this disease, uremia? Because of the lack of water, okay, the intestines are unable to absorb the water from the blood. As a result, what happens, kidneys reabsorb all the water which is present, and because of that a person may suffer from uremia. So immediate treatment for this is giving glucose in the body, that is to replenish, is to give water in the blood by glucose saline drip, or by giving oral rehydration, that is ORS, through the mouth. So when you are feeling pale or when you are giddy, what happens, ORS is given or glucose is given into your blood. Okay, so this is the immediate treatment for a person who's suffering from cholera. Okay, then the last part of this lesson, which is called as artificial kidney, you must have studied this before also, that a person can survive with one kidney, right? Okay, but if his both the kidneys fail, he has to go for dialysis into a dialyzer machine. So if one kidney is damaged or removed for some reason, other kidney alone is sufficient for the excretory needs, and the person can lead a normal life. But if both the kidneys are failed, it would lead to death. So artificial kidney is a dialysis machine. The patient's blood is led from the radial artery in the arm, so through the machine. So from the radial artery it is led into a machine. In machine the purification is done, where urea excess salts are removed, and the purified blood is again sent to the renal vein. Okay, so here in case of permanent damage to the kidney, dialysis is to be repeated for about 12 hours twice a week. Now when we are talking about this particular thing, that from the radial artery the blood is taken and then purified and sent into the renal vein. So from this artery which is there, for example, let me make it clear, maybe few of them will be also having a doubt on this, so let me make it clear. Here we can say that the renal artery which is there, it's carrying the impure blood. So this impure blood is nothing but Now arteries are generally carrying which kind of blood? The oxygenated. But this here, the impure blood implies the presence of urea, then other salts which are harmful for the body. So this blood is entered into the kidney from the renal artery. Okay, so here when it is entered, we will be seeing the setup over here. So when it is entering, we can say that from the renal artery the blood is entering. Now when you see, there is a lot of process going on where the absorption of the we can say that from these renal arteries, we can say that the absorption of the urea and everything is left behind, right, from here, and then afterwards finally it will be surrounding the renal tubule and then it will be forming a vein. So here when we say that, we had said that they will be suffering from, I mean, this particular when it is passing through the this particular things, that is through the arteries, what will be left behind is the blood, okay, which will be impure blood. Then this we say impure blood which is there, it is let into the renal vein. Okay, so when we were studying about the ultrafiltration, what we studied, that here the glomerular filtrate which is there, that is where it will be passing from the renal tubule. It will be consisting water, urea, salts and all these things. So then afterwards the thicker part of the blood which is left behind in the glomerulus, okay, that is sent for ultrafiltration, namely the two kind of corpus. I am reading from page 117. You can see glomerular filtrate which is there, it consists of urea, salts, glucose and other plasma solutes. Okay, the thicker part of the blood which is left behind in the glomerulus after ultrafiltration, namely the two kind of corpuscles, proteins and other molecules, are carried through the efferent arteriole. Okay, so you can see that the efferent arteriole is carrying it. And where is the efferent? So what is contained in this? There are corpuscles, proteins. So these all things where it will be going, it will be again going back to the renal vein. Okay, it will be again going back to the renal vein. And here where the glomerular filtrate is there, okay, this glomerular filtrate contains what? It contains all the amount of urea, salts, glucose. This will be going in this direction, and here other blood which is there, that is corpuscles and all, that will be returning into the renal vein. So did you understand? The renal artery, the blood which is entering the renal artery has urea, salts, proteins, corpuscles, all these things. Glomerular filtrate which is there, it will be having water, urea, salts, that will be going into the Bowman's capsule and then everything, purification and forming urine. Other thing which is there, that will be going from that other thing means what? The proteins, the corpuscles, all these will be carried forward, okay, from the efferent arteriole, and this efferent arteriole will be taking it to the renal vein again for the circulation of the blood. So I hope this particular point is clear with everyone, that why is that renal artery is given by which blood and renal vein is given by what kind of blood. So I made it clear. Now we are talking about dialysis. So dialysis has to be done if a person has only one kidney or there is a malfunctioning of the kidney. Dialysis which is there, it has to be done 12 hours twice a week. It's a very I mean, there are a lot of patients who undergo dialysis. Okay, I mean, when they are undergoing, and they can even survive for a longer time by undergoing the dialysis. So here that's a summary of excretion in humans. We have excretory substance carbon dioxide given out by the lungs as expired air, mineral salts like mainly urea, then that's given by the kidneys, then creatinine, uric acid. These are the kidneys and skin. Kidney as a constituent of urine, skin as a constituent of sweat, which contains a small amount of nitrogenous product. Then water is given out by kidneys, skin by lungs, kidneys excess water, water lost by in the form of sweat, and lungs giving water as form of water vapor in the expired air. And bile pigments from the hemoglobin breakdown, that's forming excretory organ is liver, through the intestine bile juice poured into the duodenum. So with this we conclude this lesson. I hope it's very clear. It was very easy lesson, and we will be going with the next lesson later. So thank you children. In case of any doubts, you can just clarify. Thank you.